Israel's military says it has killed around 700 Hezbollah fighters since launching operations in Lebanon in response to rockets fired by the Iran-backed group. Israeli troops are operating in southern Lebanon, where one soldier was reported killed on Thursday. Israel says it needs to establish a zone of control in the depopulated south in order to shield its northern communities, which have faced daily rocket attacks. Israel has ordered all Lebanese civilians to leave the area south of the Litani River. Around 1 million Lebanese have been displaced by the fighting. Yezid Sayigh is a senior fellow at the Malcolm H. Kerr Carnegie Middle East Center in Beirut. Welcome to DW. What's your assessment of Israel's real intentions in southern Lebanon? Is this a temporary buffer or something more permanent?
Well, I think the main goal here is to keep up the pressure on the Lebanese government and army to take forceful action against Hezbollah, to disarm it by force, in other words, and failing that, to inflict such severe suffering on the civilian population across Lebanon generally, but also in particular the Shia community, which is the base, the support base of Hezbollah, to keep exerting pressure, keep ratcheting it up until there is movement, until the Lebanese government and army and or other Lebanese communities start to forcibly disarm Hezbollah. And so in that sense, the proposed buffer zone in South Lebanon, I see as part of a political strategy of increasing pressure. It is not, so far at least, feasible or realistic militarily. The Israelis have barely crossed the border in a few points so far on the ground. They can't maintain an actual security zone of such a size from the air. And in any case, as far as we understand, Hezbollah is mostly firing rockets from north of the security zone anyway. And so Israeli occupation of this area is designed, I think, entirely to maximize political pressure.
Right. And is that determination to maximize the political pressure on the Lebanese government and on Hezbollah because you believe that the Israelis believe that the Lebanese government is not acting in good faith when it has said that it will do what it can against Hezbollah?
No, I think Israel this time round is seeking more maximalist aims. I, in fact, think that it isn't satisfied with disarming Hezbollah. It wants Hezbollah dismantled, dissolved entirely as a political movement, even if it were to give up its weapons. But Israel basically can't achieve this goal on its own, and therefore is seeking to coerce Lebanese parties into doing this job. Let's keep get a bit of context here, a bit of historical context. Israel first pursued this strategy in 1969, nearly 60 years ago, when it was facing Palestinian guerrillas of the Palestine Liberation Organization operating from South Lebanon. And Israel at that time launched what it called an active defense policy of deliberately striking civilians in South Lebanon to drive a massive flow of refugees to the capital, Beirut, so as to exert pressure on the central government to crack down on the PLO and end its guerrilla sanctuary in the south of the country. So we're seeing a replay of that exact same strategy. Israel has been pursuing punishment of Lebanon for nearly 60 years. And ultimately, all this, of course, is because the Israeli government, in the meantime, is moving almost formally, but certainly very systematically, to annexing the West Bank and the East Jerusalem of the occupied Palestinian territories. So, this is not just about Lebanon,
Right.
and it's not just about Hezbollah.
It's of a piece. Israel is effectively insulating itself on as many fronts as it can. And you mentioned the historical context. Well, what did we learn from back then that we can apply to today? Was it successful? Was that policy successful then? Will it be successful now?
Of course, these are different times. Israel today has American backing of a type that it never enjoyed in the past, an administration that has now gone to war with Iran, basically at the behest of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So now in Lebanon, in the past, when Israel pursued this kind of military strategy of producing political outcomes through brutal military means, in the early 1970s, this led to the civil war in Lebanon, which ended the domination of the Christian Maronite community that to some degree was open to having peace with Israel, basically. So there was a reverse result to Israeli action. When Israel went in again in 1982 and occupied something like 40% of the entire country for about 20 years, what it did was to trigger the birth of Hezbollah, and eventually Israel had to retreat under Hezbollah attacks. So there is a risk, of course, that if Israel does actually move troops in on the ground, and it is basically, expanding its physical occupation of Arab territory, it'll be very hard to pull out of that for Israel on the one side. But again, the goals here are political. It wants to reshape the political system of Lebanon. It wants to produce new kinds of political arrangements inside Lebanon. And this is something it tried in 1982 under then Defense Minister Ariel Sharon, and it failed miserably. Now there's maybe a better chance in the sense that Hezbollah is more isolated inside Lebanon. There's far more desire among the Lebanese to end this duality of having an army on the one side and also an armed militia, which is Hezbollah, on the other. At the same time, if Israel exerts too much force, it could end up simply breaking the system, collapsing the government, splitting the Lebanese army, or even worse, sort of pushing other Lebanese communities into a civil war that they cannot actually win. I mean, this is the approach that Israel seems to be taking in Iran as well, that if they can't get the regime they want, then they prefer to collapse the regime.
Right.
There are differences, but it's basically about Israel feeling under this far-right government that it has the opportunity to either reshape its regional environment or to bring it down, and in either case, leave itself dominant.
And what of Hezbollah itself? Its leadership has been decimated. Even the Lebanese government has turned against it. Is it now actively trying to pursue its own political and military objectives, or is it just trying to survive?
Hezbollah's main aim is to survive as an armed force. And you're totally right in saying that its leadership was decimated. It lost a big chunk of its veteran officer corps in 2024 in its war with Israel. And I think there must be a really big question facing Hezbollah's leadership today, or at least once the war is ended. What is its long-term plan? It has to come to terms with the rest of Lebanon and come out with a different kind of arrangement. But for now, it's certainly fighting for survival. And I think the key here is that Hezbollah will keep on fighting, certainly so long as Iran keeps on fighting. And Iran may well seek, as part of any deal to end the war with the United States administration, it will seek an end to the war in Lebanon as well, which therefore would leave Hezbollah maybe battered but still alive. So, I think Hezbollah's fate and outcome are very closely tied to the outcome of the war in Iran.
Good talking to you. Thanks for joining us. Yezid Sayigh from the Malcolm H. Kerr Carnegie Middle East Centre in Beirut.